My wife told me she needed time apart and then posted vacation photos with another man while her family told me not to jump to conclusions. I'm 34M and my wife Morgan is 32F. We've been married for 6 years, together for 9. 3 weeks ago, she told me she needed time apart to figure things out and move into her friend's place. 2 days ago, she posted photos from what looks like a resort vacation with a guy I've never seen before. When I asked her family what the hell was going on, they told me not to jump to conclusions and that I was making things worse. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I'm the crazy one or if everyone around me has lost their minds. We live in Portland, both work in tech, no kids, we met through mutual friends, dated for 3 years before I proposed, got married in a small ceremony. For the first few years things felt solid. We had the usual stuff. Money stress, work stress, whose turn it is to deal with the landlord, but nothing that seemed like a deal breaker. About 8 months ago, Morgan started a new job at a startup downtown. She was excited, the pay was better, the team was younger and energetic. She started going to more after-work events, happy hours, team retreats. I didn't think much of it. I work remote and my social life is smaller, so I was happy she was meeting people. Around that same time, she started talking about needing more space to grow. She'd bring up things like how we'd settled into a routine and how she felt like she was losing herself. I asked what she meant. She'd say things like, I don't know, I just feel stuck, or I need to figure out who I'm outside of being a wife. I suggested couple therapy. She said she'd think about it, but never followed through. In hindsight, that was the beginning, but I didn't see it clearly then. A few months ago, she started being vague about her schedule. She'd say she was staying late at the office or meeting the team for drinks, but when I'd ask how it went, she'd give one-word answers. She started sleeping with her phone face down on the nightstand, taking it to the bathroom when she showered. If I walked into her room while she was texting, she'd close out of it. I asked her once if something was going on. She said I was being paranoid and that I needed to trust her. I said I did trust her, but that her behavior had changed. She got defensive, said I was suffocating her by even bringing it up. We fought. I apologized. She went quiet for a few days. Then things went back to surface level normal. 3 weeks ago, she came home from work and said we needed to talk. I thought maybe she was finally ready for therapy. Instead, she said, I think I need some time apart. I need space to figure out what I want. I asked what that meant. She said she'd been feeling disconnected for a while and that being in the same house was making it worse, that she needed to be alone with her thoughts. I asked if there was someone else. She looked me in the eye and said, no, this isn't about another person. It's about me. I asked if this was a separation or a break. She said, I don't know. I just need time. She packed a bag that night and left, said she'd be staying with her friend Jess for a while. I asked how long. She said she didn't know. Maybe a few weeks, maybe more. I asked if we'd still talk. She said, I need space. I'll reach out when I'm ready. For the first week, I barely heard from her. She texted me once to say she was okay and needed me to respect her process. I gave her space. I didn't blow up her phone. Didn't show up at Jess's place. I figured she needed time. I'd give it to her, even though it was killing me. During that time, her sister Bree called me to check in. She said Morgan had told her about the separation and that she was going through something. I asked if Morgan had said anything specific. Bree said, she just needs to clear her head. Don't take it personally. I said it's hard not to take your wife leaving personally. Bree said, just give her space. She'll come around. Her mom called a few days later. Same energy. Morgan's always been sensitive. She needs time to process things. Don't pressure her. I wasn't pressuring her. I was just existing in limbo while my wife disappeared. 2 days ago, I'm scrolling Instagram. Morgan hasn't posted in weeks. Suddenly there's a new post, a carousel of photos, beach, sunset, tropical drinks. She's in a sundress smiling at the camera. Next photo. Her sitting at a table with a guy. They're laughing. His hand is on her shoulder. Next photo. Them on a boat. Same guy. Both in swimsuits, looking very comfortable. Caption. Finally taking time for me. I sat there staring at my phone, trying to make sense of it. She told me she needed space, that she needed to be alone with her thoughts. And she's on a vacation with some guy I've never seen or heard of. I called her, no answer. I texted, who is that? No response. I waited an hour, then called again, still nothing. So I called Bree. She answered and immediately sounded nervous. I said, did you know Morgan was on vacation with another guy? She hesitated and said, it's not what it looks like. I said, what does it look like? Because it looks like my wife, who said she needed time alone, is on a beach trip with someone else. Bree said, you're jumping to conclusions. He's just a friend from work. They went with a group. I said, there's no group in those photos. It's just the two of them. She said, well, maybe the others didn't want to be in the pictures. Look, you're making this a bigger deal than it is. Morgan needed a break and her coworker had an extra ticket. It's innocent. I asked why Morgan didn't tell me she was going on a trip. Bree said, because she knew you'd react like this. I said, react like what? Like a husband who was told his wife needed space and then sees her on vacation with another man. Bree got defensive, said I was twisting things and that I needed to calm down and not make things worse. I hung up and called her mom. Same script. Don't jump to conclusions. You're overreacting. Morgan's just trying to find herself. I said, find herself on a beach with a guy who has his hands on her. Her mom said, you're being dramatic. Friendships exist. Not everything is an affair. Then she added, if you keep acting jealous and controlling, you're going to push her away for good. That line stuck with me. Push her away for good. As if I was the problem. As if I was the one who left posted vacation photos with someone else and then refused to answer my phone. I haven't heard from Morgan since the photos went up. Her family keeps telling me to wait, to give her space, to not make assumptions. Meanwhile, I'm supposed to sit here and pretend my wife isn't on a romantic-looking vacation with another man, while everyone around me gaslights me into thinking I'm the one who's out of line. I looked at the guy's Instagram. His name is Ethan, works at the same startup as Morgan. His profile is mostly gym photos, travel, typical tech bro stuff. I scrolled back through his posts. There's a photo from 2 months ago at a work event. Morgan's in the background. Then another from a month ago, a group shot at a bar. Morgan and Ethan standing next to each other. Then 3 weeks ago, right around when she moved out, a sunset photo with the caption, new chapter. No people in it, just vibes. Now, this vacation, same location, same energy, Morgan front and center. I don't know what to do. I don't know if this counts as cheating if we're on a break. I don't know if I'm supposed to keep waiting while she figures out whether she wants me or him. I don't know if her family genuinely believes this is innocent or if they're running interference, so she could do whatever she wants without consequences. What I do know is that I was told this was about her needing space to find herself, and now she's posting photos that look a hell of a lot like she found someone else. Am I wrong for thinking this is not okay? Or am I really just jumping to conclusions like everyone keeps saying? Update, 2 weeks later. A lot has happened since I posted, none of it good. After the Instagram photos went up, I gave Morgan another day to respond. She didn't, so I sent one last text. I saw the photos. I know you're with Ethan. If you're done with this marriage, have the guts to say it. If you're not, call me. She read it, didn't reply. That night, Bree called me. She said Morgan had asked her to tell me to stop harassing her. I said, I sent one text after she posted vacation photos with another man. That's not harassment. Bree said I was making everything about me and that Morgan was going through a lot. I asked, going through what exactly? Because from where I'm sitting, she's having a great time. Bree said, she's trying to figure out if she still loves you. Give her space to do that. I said, normal people figure that out in therapy, not on a couple's vacation with a coworker. She said it wasn't a couple's vacation, that there have been other people there. They just didn't make it into the photos. I asked for one name, one other person who went on that trip. She couldn't give me one. A few days later, Morgan finally texted me. Not to explain, not to apologize, just, I'll be coming by the apartment this weekend to get more of my things. Please don't be there. I'll leave my key when I'm done. I texted back, are we getting divorced? She said, I don't know yet. I just need more time. I said, time for what? To see if it works out with Ethan? She replied, you're being paranoid and mean. This is exactly why I needed space. Then she stopped responding again. I wasn't going to leave my own apartment so she could pack her stuff in peace after everything. So I stayed. When she showed up that Saturday, Ethan was with her. She didn't warn me, didn't ask, just walked in with him like it was normal. I was in the kitchen when they came through the door. Morgan looked startled to see me. Ethan looked uncomfortable. I said, who's this? She said, this is Ethan. He's helping me carry boxes. I said, I know who he is. What's he doing in my apartment? She said, I needed help. I didn't think you'd be here. I said, you thought I'd just leave so you and your vacation buddy could pack up your stuff without me noticing? Ethan cleared his throat and said, man, I'm just here to help. I'm not trying to start anything. I told him, you already started something. You're in my house with my wife. Morgan stepped between us and said, stop it. You're being ridiculous. I said, ridiculous is you moving out 3 weeks ago to find yourself and then showing up at the guy you went to the beach with. She said, we're friends. That's it. You're making this into something it's not. I looked at Ethan and asked, are you two sleeping together? He said, dude, I don't think that's. I cut him off. It's a yes or no question. Morgan said, don't answer that. This is exactly what I was afraid of. You're acting controlling and jealous. I said, I'm acting like a husband who was lied to. She grabbed her suitcase and said, I'm not doing this right now. Then she and Ethan disappeared into the bedroom. They were in there for 20 minutes, packing clothes. I sat in the living room, trying not to lose it. When they came out, Morgan had 2 suitcases and a bag. Ethan was carrying a box of her stuff. I asked, where are you staying? She said, that's not your business anymore. I said, you're still my wife. It's my business, she said, not for long, and walked out. Ethan lingered for a second, looked like he wanted to say something, then just followed her. That phrase, not for long, sat in my chest like a rock. A few days later, I got a text from her mom. She said I'd humiliated Morgan by confronting Ethan and that I was pushing her further away. I said, she brought him to our apartment without telling me. What was I supposed to do? Her mom said, you were supposed to give her space like we told you. Now she's more convinced than ever that leaving was the right choice. I realized then that no matter what I did, her family was going to frame me as the problem. If I gave her space, I was cold and distant. If I asked questions, I was controlling and paranoid. I called a divorce lawyer, not because I decided, but because I needed to know what my options were. He asked if we'd legally separated. I said no, just her moving out and refusing talk. He said that wasn't a legal separation, that we were still married, and that if she was involved with someone else, it could be relevant depending on the stay and circumstances. He also said, sounds like she's already checked out. You need to decide if you're going to wait for her to come back or start. Protecting yourself. That same week, one of our mutual friends, Derek, reached out. He said he needed to tell me something, that he'd been sitting on it but couldn't anymore. He'd seen Morgan and Ethan at a bar in late March. Before she moved out, they were sitting close, laughing, very comfortable. Derek said he thought maybe it was just work stuff, but then he saw Ethan's hand on her leg under the table. He didn't say anything to me at the time because he didn't want to start drama. But after seeing the vacation photos, he felt like I should know. I asked if there was anything else. He said he'd heard through another coworker that Ethan had been talking about Morgan for months, that he'd been interested in her since she started, that people at their office had noticed them spending a lot of time together. So the timeline became clear. Morgan started the job. Ethan started circling. They got closer. She started pulling away from me. Then she manufactured a "I need space to find myself" exit so she could explore things with him without technically being a cheater. I went back through our joint credit card statements. In April, there were charges at hotels in Seattle. Morgan had told me she was at a work conference. The company didn't have a conference that month. In May, there were charges at a restaurant I'd never been to. Same day, she said she was working late. Last month, there was a charge for 2 plane tickets to Mexico. That's where the vacation photos were from. She'd used our joint card to book a vacation with another man. I took screenshots of everything, the charges, the Instagram photos, Derek's statement in writing, and sent them to the lawyer. He said, "This is more than enough to establish fault. If you want to file, you should also close that joint card before she racks up more expenses." I did. I also moved half of our joint savings into a separate account. Not to be vindictive, but because I wasn't going to keep funding her new life. The next day, Morgan called me screaming, "You froze the card? Are you serious?" I said, "You use it to book a vacation with Ethan." "Yeah, I'm serious." She said, "That's financial abuse." I said, "Using marital funds to cheat on your spouse is fraud. Take your pick." She said, "I didn't cheat. We're separated." I said, "We're not legally separated. You moved out 3 weeks ago and immediately started posting photos with another man. That's not separation. That's an affair with a thin cover story." She hung up. Her family has stopped calling me. I think they finally realized I'm not playing along anymore. I filed for divorce yesterday, cited irreconcilable differences, and attached the financial records as evidence of her using joint funds inappropriately. My lawyer said she'd be served within the next week. I don't know if I'll ever get a real explanation, an apology, or even an admission of what actually happened. But I know I'm done waiting for someone who looked me in the eye, said there was no one else, and then spent our money on a beach vacation with him. She wanted space, now she's got it. Permanent space. Final update. 1 month later. Morgan was served 2 weeks ago, and the truth finally came out, not from her, but from Ethan. A few days after she got the papers, I got a DM from him on Instagram. He said, "Hey man, I think we should talk. I didn't know the full story, and I feel like I owe you an explanation." I almost didn't respond, but curiosity got the better of me. We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. He looked tired, guilty. I sat down and said, "Go ahead." He said Morgan had told him we were separated, that she'd moved out months ago, and we were just waiting for the paperwork, that we were basically done, just hadn't made it official yet. He said she told him I was controlling, and that she'd been unhappy for years, that she'd been planning to leave me, but was scared I'd react badly. I asked when they started seeing each other. He said March, about a month after she started at the company. He said it started as just talking, then drinks after work. Then one night they kissed. She told him she was separated, that I knew, that it was fine. He had no idea she was still living with me. She told him she was staying with Jess, which was technically true, but left out the part where she only moved there 3 weeks before the vacation, not months before. When he found out I filed for divorce, he said he started asking her more questions, and her story started falling apart. She admitted she'd never told me about him, that we weren't actually separated when things started, that she'd said she needed space and left because she wanted to see where things went with him. He said, "I feel like an idiot. I thought I was dating someone who'd left a bad situation, not helping someone cheat on their husband." He told me he'd ended it with her the day before. I asked why he was telling me all this. He said, "Because you deserve to know the truth, and because I don't want to be part of whatever game she's playing." After he left, I forwarded the conversation to my lawyer. He said it was useful, that it established a clear timeline of infidelity and deception, and that it would help if Morgan tried to claim the separation was mutual or that I was at fault. A week later, Morgan called me. First time I'd heard her voice since the apartment confrontation. She said, "Can we talk?" "Really talk?" I said, "About what?" She said, I made mistakes, I know that now. I got confused. I wasn't thinking clearly, but I don't want to throw away 6 years over a mistake. I said, you didn't make a mistake. You had an affair. You lied to me. You lied to him. You used our money to go on vacation with him. And then you tried to make me feel crazy for noticing. She started crying, said, I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you I was unhappy. So I ran. I know that's not an excuse, but I didn't mean for it to go this far. I said, you meant every part of it. You just didn't mean to get caught. She said, if I could take it back, I would. Can we try therapy? Can we work on this? I said, you told me 3 weeks ago, not for long, when I called you my wife. You brought him to our apartment. You posted photos of the two of you on a beach while your family told me I was paranoid. There's nothing left to work on. She said, so that's it? You're really going to throw everything away? I said, you already did that. I'm just making it official. She asked if I hated her. I said, no, I don't hate you, but I don't trust you. I don't respect you, and I don't want to be married to you. She hung up. I haven't heard from her since. Her family reached out one last time. Bree sent a long text about how people make mistakes and how I should think about forgiveness. I didn't respond. Her mom called and left a voicemail saying I was giving up too easily, that marriage is work, and that I'd regret this. I deleted both without finishing them. The divorce is moving forward. My lawyer said it should be finalized in a few months. Oregon's a no-fault state, so the affair doesn't change the legal outcome much, but it does mean she can't claim I abandoned her or acted in bad faith. I also found out through Derek that Morgan and Ethan's breakup didn't last. Derek said Ethan took her back after a week of her apologizing and crying. Apparently, she moved in with him 2 weeks ago. So much for not wanting to be part of her game. I'm not angry anymore. Not the way I was at first. Now it's just quiet. I'm in the apartment alone, repainting the bedroom, getting rid of things that remind me of her. I started going to therapist, not couples therapy. Just for me, it's helping. One thing I keep thinking about. She could have just told me she wanted out. We could have had a hard conversation, split things fairly, moved on like adults. Instead, she invented a whole narrative where I was the bad guy and she was the victim, where space meant affair, where finding herself meant finding someone else. Her family backed her up because they believed her version, or maybe because they didn't want to believe their daughter was capable of lying like that. Either way, I was the one who got gaslit for weeks while she built a new life. But here's the thing. I'm not the one who has to live with what she did. She has to live with the fact that she blew up a 6-year marriage for a guy she'd known for a few months. She has to explain to future partners why her last marriage ended. She has to look at herself in the mirror and know she lied to everyone, including him. I'm moving to Seattle in a few months. New job, fresh start. I'm keeping the dog. She didn't even ask about him. I'm keeping my friends, the real ones, the ones who didn't tell me I was overreacting when I had every reason to react. Morgan wanted time apart to figure things out. Turns out what she figured out was that she's exactly who she showed me in those last few weeks. Someone who would rather lie and blame me than own what she'd done. I gave her space. Now I'm taking mine back.